Hi, welcome to the Penny Lane Podcast. We have two very special people for you. First, my co-host, we're going to welcome back Berkey Turkey. Hey,
Hello,
Berkey.
everyone. Hi, how's it going? Good to be back.
We're doing great. I'm so happy you're here. Do you want to tell everyone who we have with us this morning?
Yes, I would love to. The one, the only MakingSales.
Woo!
Woo!
Thank you for
I
having
think,
me, guys.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. You are one of our most anticipated guests, I would say. People are psyched to hear you. So thanks so much for coming on.
I know he was my recommendation, if you want to spill beans with that.
Is that true?
Yeah, remember I messaged you a couple weeks ago? I was like, get him on here.
My mind barely functioned, so I'd forgotten that. But what an awesome, this worked out perfectly. So I asked Berkey if he would co-host with me because we are all in MTA together, and Berkey, as you know from his episode, is the voice of MTA. He really runs our voice channel during the day. And MakingSales has recently, maybe the past 2 months or so, been on there every day as well, right? So
Sounds
they
about correct.
know a lot about each other's trading styles, and I thought he'd be super helpful. Also, Justin bailed on me again. Surprise, surprise. So I think we have an even better substitute here as a co-host.
No. He has it, you know. Some people just have it. He's amazing.
That star quality. People are just obsessed with Justin. There's just something about him. Well, MakingSales, thanks for making time for us on the weekend. Have you had a nice weekend?
The weekend's been good, thank you very much. Just been chilling, enjoying my weekend.
Have you been getting rained on at all?
The weather's been pretty decent, actually, so I'm thankful for that.
Okay, so tell everyone where you are right now.
So I'm from London, England, in the UK. So that's where I'm from. I'm British.
That's why it's always raining on them. That's why I brought that up. But it's good that you have a clear weekend. Get out and do some things.
Did you watch any football this weekend?
Not this weekend. Usually I watch like the highlights at the end of the day.
So you're a big football fan, like Callum?
I'm not as big of a fan as Callum, but I do like to watch the highlights and see the good parts, the interesting parts of action.
Cool. I'm also a big football fan, but the other kind.
The real one.
I saw my dogs had a great game last night. So Justin went to the University of South Carolina. I went to the University of Georgia. They played each other last night, and we watched the game together. So it was tense, but luckily we beat them soundly. So, good odds.
I wish I had that experience of going to a Division I school and being able to be like, yeah, we're a football school, and then, live on with that the rest of my life. I actually don't have a college team I ever root for, so just more a fan of the sport, I guess. I went to a D2 school, so I still root for them, of course.
NFL?
Oh, yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh.
I bleed black and gold.
I have a good friend who's a Steelers fan, and it's fun. I like the whole culture. It's cool. Sales, do you know anything about American football?
I'm not too familiar with it. I know who Tom Brady is. That's about it.
Well, that's all you need, really. That sums up the entire sport.
Especially the last 20 years.
Could we get into a little bit of how you well, first of all, can you tell us how old you are?
So I'm 19. I'm a student at university, studying my second year, studying pure economics.
That blows my mind for a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, you're so poised and well-spoken. And I don't know if that's the English accent or the inflection in your voice, but I never, ever would have guessed that. And then you seem so wise. and have ever since I've known you. You just
It's
seem
remarkable.
like wisdom beyond your years, and that is very cool.
I have to thank my mentors for that, because they really guided me in the right direction, and everything that I've learned is from them.
Let's skip ahead and ask who those mentors are.
So my biggest mentors is Mullins Momentum, so Brad Mullins. Walrus
Who's
has
that?
so he's the boss of MTA. He's the founder, and he's a great guy. He's like one of the realest people in the FinTwit community, and he'll tell you things how it is, and that's what I really appreciate from him. Walrus has recently been a mentor of mine. So and who else? The OG scalp team. So there's Bear, Trog, and Rodessa. Also, I would say singles and doubles is a good mentor.
My
And
favorite. Love him.
I'll say Rocket Catching Bob as well.
This is the freaking all-star lineup of FinTwit. Like, my God.
Put them out on the field, go against anybody.
Jesus. All these people have helped you personally?
So me, I'm the type of learner to like do my own research. So usually they answer questions on Twitter and stuff like that, and I'll use the advanced search on Twitter to find specifically what I'm looking for. So I would always like to do my own research, do my own reviews, and then if I have a specific question, then I won't hesitate to DM them and get more information and have a better understanding of like what's going on.
That's amazing. It's great to hear you being a go-getter like that, because you see so many people in our community want to be spoon-fed, and that's generally their downfall. So
yeah, like what is self-starter? That I'm just so impressed with you. And I saw on Twitter the other day that I didn't know you at the time, but you were the person who put in all the effort to write down Zach Morris's complete trading strategy.
I saw that.
Like, damn. I remember when that came out, and I spent a lot of time reading it because, of course, I think the community as a whole respects him as like a pretty badass trader. And then he was on PGIR, and I was listening to that episode like, oh, I need to take notes, but I was driving. And then you put that out, and I was like, hell yeah, this just saved me a lot of time. And they were so thorough and well organized. So it actually, when I saw that, I was like, of course, that was you, but didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, Zach is a goat, and honestly, I try to learn as much as I can from him, and he's actually a really nice guy. At the times that we've spoken, so he has a clean heart, and he's a great mentor as well.
It's good to hear.
For sure. So, did you know Brad prior to MTA, like just through Twitter?
Yeah, so Brad was a part of another chat room, and he really stood out to me because usually people would just suggest their ideas every day they're trading, but Brad, he's very selective, and that's one thing that caught my attention about him. When he mentions a play, like they usually go because he only focuses on A and A plus setups, and that's like something that I try to integrate into my trading system. The selectiveness, the focus on quality, and he always stood out to me for that. So I closely followed him after that on Twitter.
Cool.
And yeah,
it's okay to say it. We have talked about it before. So Brad was in Atlas before MTA, and that's where a lot of these people are. So just doing that math, I could wager a guess as to how long you've been trading, but that makes no sense since you could just tell me. So how long have you been trading?
So I haven't been trading pretty long. I'd consider myself still a beginner. In fact, I'm a COVID trader because that's when I really sat down and gave COVID a shot, because I was in school at the time and my school got shut down during the pandemic. So I was left with a whole lot of time to do whatever I wanted.
Cool. So is that like I started in April of 2020? Does that line up with about when you started?
Well, actually, what happened is I opened up my account on my 18th birthday, which is January the 6th. So at the beginning of the year. But because I was focusing on my exams and whatnot, I was revising. I didn't have any time for the markets. And to be honest, I wasn't really familiar with the markets. I had a little bit of knowledge because I study economics. I paper traded prior to that back in like 2018 during like the when the weed stocks went crazy. But other than that, I didn't really know much except from the big reputable companies, and I was oblivious to like small caps. But when my school shut down, what happened is my cousin, he sent me a link to sign up for one of these brokers, and we each get a free stock, and that just like triggered a memory. I have an account. I could probably like learn to trade. So
Is your
that's
cousin
that.
still trading?
I'm not too sure.
Oh, wow. Has anybody else in your family ever been into investments, or have you been exposed in any other way to the stock market, or
My
is that
dad has
really?
like a few investments here and there, but he invests in like the worst companies that go bankrupt and whatnot. He's like the person to buy
Gee.
something and forget he has any like anything in it. Like he doesn't like play heavy or anything like that. Just a little bit of like beer money and just like throws it at the market. But he's more into like real estate. I think that's what interests him.
That's cool.
Cool.
Well, I know you're interested, from what I've heard you say, into getting into more swings as well, or at least setting yourself up so you're able to, have some funds on the side for swings. Would you think about getting him into those with you, or
Yeah,
is that?
I told my dad to invest in some funds actually, like the S&P 500, because he's really the type of person to just buy something and set it and forget it. Like I doubt he even checks his account, like even on a quarterly basis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, so you start paper trading, you open your account, and then what was your first, was it, were you trying to buy things and hold them, or like what was your first toe in the water strategy?
So my first strategy was swing trading at the time, and I didn't really know there was like really many other strategies because I thought like if I was a scalper or a day trader, then it's like I'm gambling, or and when I was swing trading, what happened is what I'll do is I'll Google the best stocks, and then I'll insert the date on Google, and then it usually came up with like the Motley Fool. So I'll click
Mhm.
on that and I'll get all these recommendations. So what I'll do is I'll open the chart, yeah, and these times I didn't even use a candlestick chart. It was just the lines. So I'll just see, okay, I think this is the bottom. I set a price alert there and I'll buy there, and then usually I'll just try and sell on any pops. So that was my strategy for a while, and it worked initially because during like April anything would go up,
Right.
but soon after that it wasn't too
Let's get
successful of a
into that.
strategy.
So what happened soon after that?
So after I did that, I actually found out about Twitter because like I think I searched up Tesla, and then I realized that it sends you into like the latest tweets and the top tweets, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can check all of these tweets, and it just like led to a rabbit hole, and then I found small caps. So initially, I followed a lot of the bad gurus, which kind of misguided me because um, they had success because of the COVID era, and I used to blindly follow them at the time. So I turned my initial investment, I nearly double, tripled it. Um, but then I think like the COVID theme like died out, and a lot of these gurus, they were hit and miss with their calls, and like I would go heavy into them, and then I eventually gave back all of my gains, and I practically blew up my account because I gave away I gave away all of my gains, and I was in a loss now. So that's when I was like, I need to create a like system and strategy because I was aggressively revenge trading, trying to get back to that number um, that I was previously at, and that wasn't um, a good thing. So I was kind of upset at the time, depressed. I felt kind of sick, and I needed to make a change. So I had to go back to the drawing board.
Well, that's a universal trading story. Rings super true to me.
That's going to be in a
Um,
stock textbook someday.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so sorry, one second. So I actually want to ask you about, you said you were feeling like physically sick. You mean that, right?
Yeah, I couldn't sleep at
Yeah.
night. I felt so uneasy. Um, so like my mental state wasn't in a good place at the time.
So you're just alone, isolated, because trading is a lonely thing. You've lost all your money. You're anxious. God, Lord, I mean, just that's like PTSD for me. I certainly have been there. So, so did you go out looking for a community next, or did you decide to really hone your own studying and that?
Yeah, so what happened is I came across the OG Scalp team in Atlas. So there was Bear,
Cool.
Trog, and Rodessa, and they were mainly on voice. So I would tune in every single day without fail, listen to what they're saying, and because they're going through plays in real time, I could like see what's happening. And initially, I got muted because I would ask all these crazy questions during like market hours, and they're like, "Come on, man, we're trying to trade." And I'm a quick learner, so like I picked up things pretty quickly, and then there was still a gap because I was learning all these things and I couldn't apply it. I just like I was too nervous. I was too scared. So what happened is Nola and Zico, they told me to watch this short video series by Mark Douglas, and that's something that just it was like an aha moment, and like things I wouldn't say just like click for me, but like it helped me sort out my mental state and like be able to press the trigger and take trades. And yeah,
Would you be able to send me a link to that so I could put it in the show notes in case people are like, I would like to watch that too?
absolutely.
Cool. Love Mark Douglas. Also, it's my secret to tell, so I feel like I can tell it. Rodessa is going to come on the pod really soon.
Rodessa is one
Sweet.
of my favorite mentors.
Yeah,
He's a great guy.
I'm super psyched to talk to him.
That's awesome to
So,
hear.
so you, well, I know you're a quick learner. Like your growth has just been unbelievable. So, did you implement rules for yourself?
Yeah, I created a set of like 15 or so rules that I strictly follow. So that helped me in the sense of risk management, because I wasn't managing my risk before. I was holding bags. Some of my positions were down like 30%. I was like relying on hopium, and that's not a way that you should trade.
We have an inside joke where I'll ask Making Sales did he even click a button all week because he's so selective, and it just shows his maturity and his patience, and he follows those rules. I'm sure maybe some days he slips a little bit, but it's very impressive to hear and see you do, each and every day.
So, making sales, were you MTA OG?
Yeah, I joined MTA. I was one of the first 50 people to join MTA, I believe.
Nice, nice. So, have you been on voice since the beginning?
Um, Actually, I wasn't. I think for the first month or so, I wasn't on voice. Then I joined Momentum Voice with Jimmy Momo, and then
Jimmy
eventually I came.
Momo.
Then I eventually came to the main voice channel.
Okay, so I wasn't wrong on your. You weren't on voice since the beginning. So, um, Berkey, could you tell us, if you feel comfortable, sort of your impressions about making sales since he's joined the main voice and kind of like some highlights of things that you've noticed about him?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that's easy. I mean, I couldn't thank him enough for contributing each and every day. I mean, that's incredible. It takes a special person to want to chip in and help others out consistently, and just it's incredible how he's always saying these wise words that I know multiple people in there need to hear each and every day. And also, he kind of does. He tells what he's looking for more or less before it actually happens, so people can be prepared to watch for why he would think the way he's thinking. Like if it's he's waiting for it to come down to a key area and to see how it reacts. That helps people learn as well, and possibly even take the trade or understand it for next time why they would take it in that area. So that's everything to me. That's huge.
That's awesome. Um, And I'm sure that helps you in your role of voice manager.
Yep.
Sure, that's awesome. Are these rules that you follow, are they on your Twitter?
I believe I've posted them before, so it should be there in my pinned tweets, perhaps.
Cool. I'm going to also put that in the show notes in case people want to look at it. We don't need to go through all 15, but could you maybe go through your top 2 or 3 most important ones that you implemented that really helped?
Okay, so the first one is having a plan. So that means you have to know your entries, your exits. That means on either direction. So your stop loss and price target, your size that you're taking, position size based on your portfolio, the amount of conviction that you have on the trade based on if it's an A plus, or a B setup, and the time horizon for the trade. So is it a scalp, day trade, swing? That's the most important rule, I believe. The second most important rule I would say is um, to like reevaluate, consciously reevaluate your emotional state. So are you feeling FOMO, panic? Are you feeling revenge, boredom? Because you want to identify those emotions, because you want to be in a rational state and you want to make decisions that are strategic. And finally, I think the most important rule is I don't take a trade unless I have an edge. So you want to have your risk reward, you want to have a probable setup. Otherwise, you're just coin flipping, and coin flipping, it can go either direction for you. You want to have success over a series of trades. So those are my top 3.
It's beautiful.
So, MakingSales, just a little follow up on your rules. Do you have a maximum amount of gain or loss per day where you'll like ripcord it and be like, I will not take another trade? Or is it in the singles and doubles episode? We talked about this a lot because I have to have a max win and lose to force myself to step away, or I'll overtrade. I'm big on overtrading. And he said that if the market's hot and he's in the zone, he'll push it. And those are some of his best days. So I'd love you to just speak to that.
Yeah, I agree with like determining what's the sentiment and what's the market like. Because if the market is filled with opportunities, then those are opportunities that you can potentially take. But if it's a slower day and there's not many of your setups out there, then you're forcing trades, which is never a good idea. So I do have like a maximum loss that I set on my trades individually, but I wouldn't just like call it a day if the market is showing like a lot of potential.
I'm with you
Great,
on that.
great answer. Actually, I'd love to ask you both because I genuinely don't know other than the 100% runner. But when you get to your computer in the morning and you're making your plan for the day, what indicators are you looking for to know if the market's going to be good that day, or to formulate a prediction?
Do you want to go
I
first,
can go ahead,
Berkey?
me. Yeah, you go ahead, bud.
All right, so I look for a notable gapper because I think it sets the algos off differently and people are more prepared and ready to slap. I also look to see if the big indexes are stable or uptrending, because if like spies flushing, then there's a lot of uncertainty and fear out there. Um, I also look to see if there's good news flow, which I think is important, because I think news gives people conviction behind the trade. Because if something's up 100% on no news, they don't really know if it's like a pump or what is going off. They can't really trust the move. I also like to see if sympathies are seeing a bit of success. If it's like a multi-day theme of like the market being hot.
Great answer.
I don't
Berkey?
think I have too much to add to that. It's as simple as like what kind of gainers and follow through we're getting in pre-market for me, and if plays flush it open, if they're getting more volume, bought back up immediately, that sort of thing. Of course, continuation like in momentum day to day matters as well. Like if we get a really hot day, yeah, we had a really hot day with good price action recently, and then the next day was kind of April vibes, but um, I think days will start to build on each other, and then I get a little more aggressive when I'm actually liking what I'm seeing day to day, rather than just getting faked out one day, decent the next day. But yeah, pre-market gainers and volume is the main thing for me. Okay, so
Cool.
making sales. What would you what is your A plus and A setup? And I know we talked a little bit before how Brad's always been one that plays that are actually in play, for lack of a better term. But it's as simple as that. So I'm sure your A and A plus setups are plays that we both like strive to see during the day, and we'll both play because they're in fact in play. So what would you call an A plus setup?
So an A plus setup to me is exactly that. It's a stock that's in place. So ideally, it's a top gainer or in the top gainers list with at least a 40% plus gap. Ideally, something above 100%, but that really depends on the market. I like news that reads and is perceived well based on the headline. I like notable volume. I like for during the day for the dips to be bought up and like to see follow through. Um, a bonus one is like if it's a hot sector, I like to see nice range on the chart because range is really important. I don't want to be stuck in a stock that can only move like a couple cents because my money's better placed somewhere else. I like to have my solid risk reward of course, a probable chart pattern, and I also like a smaller float because they tend to give very nice and explosive moves.
Really solid and succinct answer. Thank you.
That's
A
what I'm
follow
looking
up
for as well.
question is about news. I'm always interested in, like, I understand what you're saying that it reads well, but are there any key words that you're looking for? I know some people use billions or a partnership. Like if a penny stock is partnering with Amazon, that's going to be news that makes that stock go. Do you have any tips for like specifically that?
Yeah, so NOLA actually has a keywords list which includes a lot of different keywords in press releases and filings, and he tiers them. So I believe that's a good start, like good starting place for people who are looking to find what could potentially be a good PR. But to be honest, once you start seeing a lot of headlines, then you realize like what the market likes, and you get a feel for things because I feel like that's a part of screen time as well. It's not just charts. It's about like realizing how people like and react to the news and um, the similarities between the stocks that go.
Could you tell us what source you use for news? People always want to know that.
Well, actually, I don't use any like news scanners or anything like that. What I've done is I've gone to Twitter, I find accounts that post the news consistently and on time, and I create a Twitter list filled with them, and I have it on my tweet deck.
Cool. That seems like the most common place people get news from. So that's awesome. You want to shout out any of your favorite accounts that where you get your news?
I can't remember any of them off the top of my head because they're not like any like Furus or anyone that comes to your head like that. They're just like news accounts.
You know who does a good job is I think his name's Tex-Mex.
Yeah, Tex-Mex is good. Divided Champ is another good name. Those two are the ones that come to my head off the top, but there's also others.
Cool. Um, Before we get into some questions, because we have a lot, people had a lot of things to ask you. What is your, and please be general, I'm not asking for specific, but what's the status of your overall account now? Are you happy with it? Are you looking to grow it more? Are you being aggressive? Well, it's maybe not the time in the market to be aggressive, but just could you speak to sort of the health of your account?
Yeah, so from my blow up, I managed to recover all of my losses, and I'm significantly in the green now. So my strategy is to be an aggressive momentum trader. So it really depends on what the market's like for me to be taking trades. Sometimes I go without taking any trades, but when the trade's there, I will take it, and I will take it with size, and I look to like exponentially grow my account like that. Um, so I'm pretty young, so I have more of like a long term outlook. I'm not like in a rush. I'm not a millionaire yet, but I have no doubt that I'll achieve that status with time. So I just take every day as it comes and take what the market gives me.
I have
So
faith in you.
Brad's big on going heavy. You just said you also agree in going heavy on good risk reward and good setups, yes?
That's correct. And I got that from Brad because initially I used to
Cool.
play it much more safer, but as I've got like a more of a feel for the market, I can understand the sentiment better and I'm more confident in my style and setup. I've managed to like go heavier.
I'm just really enjoying this episode. I love all this. This is great. I love all this information you have. It seems so like aspirational, but also achievable, which I like. I like that for people. Um, okay, Berkey, do you want to go into some questions? Are these questions from our MTA people?
Yes, they are, and there's a lot that people sent me that we've kind of elaborated on a little bit, so I don't want to get too overlappy, but I have a few. If I hammer a couple out real quick.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have some from Twitter too. So let's go. You do MTA, I'll do Twitter.
Okay, great.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right, this one's for me myself. If you could time travel back to your first day of trading self, what would you tell yourself? Can be a couple of things.
The first thing I'll tell myself is to create a system. So I have something that I can rely on and that can consistently make me profit over time so I can develop an edge. The second thing I'll say, don't follow people blindly. Actually know what's happening in the market, know what the stock's about, know the potential. And the third thing I'll say is see things from both sides. So know the long perspective and the short perspective. Because I feel like a lot of beginners are told to like hate shorts, that there's like so much evil and manipulation. But it's not that. The market is filled with participants, and every single participant is necessary for the market to work the way that it does.
Definitely, that was great. So we just touched a little bit on the type of headline you believe is ideal. So I won't ask that one, but I'll spin it off and say, what do you think your favorite sector or theme, and what have you had success in playing? Has there been any one or two kind of sectors or themes that you definitely prefer?
I haven't got a preference because I don't have a do not trade list. I'll trade anything as long as the momentum's there. I'll play the momentum intraday and I'll take advantage of that. I wouldn't rule something out. Like there's certain things I prefer to. I don't like China tickers. I don't like shippers. I don't like the low flow oilers. Um, those are some names that I'm just like a bit more hesitant with because I've been burnt by them in the past. So other than that, I'll trade anything.
I agree with those. Yeah, for sure. For me, I think I have a soft spot for NFTs and meme stocks and COVID plays. Those
The
were the best for me. But I agree
the
with
best.
your non-favorable sectors for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really don't care for a China EDU play.
Yeah.
Not my fave.
We're gonna hear something about that soon. But hey, what's your favorite food? This is a little off topic, but
I'm not too picky of it either. I like Thai food quite a lot actually.
okay, cool. Okay, so this kind of ties into that. If you could pick someone dead or alive, who would you eat dinner with?
Probably Callum because like he's become quite a mate of mine recently, so he's a good lad.
Oh, well, that goes into part B of the question. Who would it be in the trading world?
Yeah, Callum's a cool dude.
Oh, no.
This
Okay.
actually is perfect because we have some questions from Callum. Berkey, they're in the chat section right now.
Okay, I'll read it. He said, "Hello, mate. Thank you for all you do. It's been a pleasure to have you around MTA Discord. And what would you say the biggest benefit of being an MTA is for new traders?"
Good question, Callum.
I think the good thing about MTA is that it's an education-based and process-focused room, as opposed to like just giving out calls and alerts. Like, of course, there are people that call out stuff that they're playing and whatnot, but you have to understand the process behind it. And like people do a good job of breaking that down, telling others what they see. And at least that's the way that I try to do things as well. Try to let people know what key levels I'm looking at. Tell them that this is the pre-market high. If this is respected, maybe it will have a nice bounce and whatnot.
Perfect.
Is there one more? about his. Okay, well, we already did that. Callum also wanted to know about your role models and mentors, but actually, let me rephrase that a little bit. If Is there one trader that you know of that you could say, if I could click a button and trade like exactly like them tomorrow, like that is the style that I want?
It would have to be Zach Morris without a question, without a single doubt. He's probably the best trader I've like seen in the small cap world. Even like before the followers and stuff like that, he would call all of these bangers and whatnot. I feel like as his following has grown, it's a bit difficult for him to call out everything that he sees because his trades do get overcrowded and it can get difficult at times.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that want to know this. Where does your name come from? Where is the term making sales, the name itself? What made you choose that one?
So I believe like life is all about sales. So what is a sale? A sale is like a agreed exchange of something for something else of value. It's like a transaction where you exchange one thing for another. So I believe we're always constantly trading money, time, knowledge, emotions, energy, and hopefully we're making profitable sales where many people can benefit.
Wow, so you had the forethought to come up with that on your first Twitter trading account. That's amazing. Not everybody picks a silly name like Berkey Turkey, I guess. So this is a more specific question. Do you think there's a future in SPAC plays again? I'm sure in your upbringing here in FinTwit, you just were slammed by the SPAC Central movement, and now we've just seen such a big, I don't know if I would say downtrend in them, but it hasn't come back yet, except for recently. I think we saw a couple low float beaten down SPACs kind of run crazy. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think right now there's a current theme with the low float SPACs with high redemption rates. So that's just a theme. I feel like it's going to be hot while it's hot, and then it's going to die out and fizzle down. But I feel like as for SPACs in whole, I think perhaps like the good quality companies would rise through it, and others would just be like any other stock on the exchange.
Makes sense.
Berkey, are there any more MTA questions?
That's it, because I don't want to get too overlap.
Okay, there's one. Well, we have gone through a lot of that. People in MTA really love you. All right, Twitter question. This is from Quite Curious. He wants to know your best tips on achieving a cutting edge mentality.
I feel like the most important thing is to develop an edge. So you can't just like wake up one day and say, I'm going to have confidence and conviction in what I trade. It's not like a button that you click and then you're the best trader in the world or anything like that. What you do is you find a setup, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to like create something crazy. Just see what's been working and what's timeless. Take that strategy and look for it on whatever time frame you trade on, and um, look at it again and again until you have a large sample of data. And once you see that it works enough times, you start to have conviction because you trust the data. You have like statistics backing um, your view on the thing. So I feel like an edge is the most important thing.
Cool. Wyatt wants to know, and we have touched on this. He wants to know what your biggest setback was, and it seems like possibly it was losing all your gains and then getting
Yeah,
sort of
it was like
physically ill
losing.
from that.
Yeah, I think my biggest setback was losing like 85% of my account. Um, that's how much I bled away. So at the time it wasn't very nice, but looking back at it, I'm kind of grateful because I think back to those times, yeah, and it reminds me never to like make such like silly mistakes or to prevent that from ever happening again in the future. So it was a good learning lesson.
We all need
Cool.
that.
Yeah. Um, did any do you like trading books? Do you read them?
Yeah, I'm more of a visual learner, but there have been quite a few books that I have read and like videos I've watched, streams that I watched, blog sites that I've read, because I was like very intensely studying while I was trying to figure out how to like work this trading thing out.
Cool. What broker do you use right now?
Trade Zero at the moment.
Trade Zero.
Yeah, and I
I don't know a
got another
lot of
dodgy broker that me and Callum use to get in the HOTS.
The world famous dodgy broker.
dodgy broker. Do you short at all?
No, I don't short at the moment, but it's a bias that I'm like trying to develop, and it's something that I look to be doing definitely by 2022.
Cool. I think Trade Zero is good for shorting, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Sort of.
locates are pretty decent.
Cool. Thinkorswim is not. TD
No,
Ameritrade.
they won't give
No
me shares of
shorts.
anything.
Nope.
This one's from Stephen Baker.
Oh, always.
Okay.
Always. Let's hear it. Steven.
I'll read it verbatim. He wants to know what it has made you choose MTA's voice as your place of home. And I know we elaborated on that a little bit, but he's just saying that you have, a decent sized Twitter influence, and he says it's awesome that you're with us each and every day. So he wants to say he appreciates you, and he just wants to know, why you chose MTA, but he loves you being there.
God, Steven has just like the sweetest heart. Really glad he joined us. Anyway, MakingSales, please answer.
The reason I chose MTA is because of Brad himself, because he's someone that I identified with and related to quite a lot, because his style of trading, momentum trading, was something I'm interested in, and particularly the fact that he's very well disciplined. He's not someone who just calls anything. He's very selective, and that resonates a lot with me. So I want to surround myself with traders that have a similar style to me, so that I can learn and master that type of niche.
It's perfect. So with you trading in college, your courses don't, they don't impact at all your trading hours, since you're on the GMT time zone.
Well, thankfully, because of COVID, a lot of the classes were online, and they were pre-recorded. So I had a lot of time to trade. I would just study in my own time, if I did end up studying, that is. And I just cared about getting the assignments done. I wasn't too focused on school, to be honest. I just wanted to get my good enough grade and focus and get my screen time.
So is this your dream, to be a full-time trader after school?
I think I can definitely become a full-time trader by the age of 23. Like by the time I finish school and whatnot, I definitely can see that happening.
And remind us your major. I think you said it at the
Pure
beginning.
economics.
Right.
That's awesome. So a little bit more off topic here. What are your other passions other than the stock market? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I like going to the gym. I like nature actually quite a lot, like going for walks and whatnot, just appreciating the scenery. And recently, what I've just been enjoying life, just like taking everything in and just trying to like live the moment.
That's beautiful. We have one of those signs printed with making sales quotes and put them like above my door frames and stuff.
Because I feel
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say one of the biggest problems I think for people my age is they try to rush everything. They want to touch the millions. I'm not even close to touching my millions yet, but you have to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, because you have to go through it. What's the point of having a miserable process? Just enjoy every moment, try and learn what you can. Obviously there'll be ups and downs, but enjoy it.
Can't stress that enough. Hey, it sounds like you should, move in with me so we can hang out more with the gym and going in the woods. Ask Blaine, that's where I was this morning. I don't know if she saw my Snapchat, but always hiking.
Hiking, food, dogs.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the life.
So, where do you see yourself in 7 years?
7 years time, in terms of trading, hopefully with a much bigger account and just like trading the same setups and just doing. I enjoy waking up every day, looking forward to the markets. I hope that nothing changes in that regards. I just hope that my skills are more polished and I have a better understanding of the markets. Perhaps I've developed my skills so that I can try different styles and strategies when it comes to trading and be a more holistic trader as opposed to just a momentum day trader.
Cool. All right. Honestly, You are so succinct at talking and getting information across. We've gone through questions, we've gone through my questions. So I'm going to ask one sort of last wrap it up question, which is if I came to you as a brand new trader and was like, help me dip my toe into this trading thing, what should I do? What advice would you give to me?
The first thing I'd say is don't play with a lot of money. Play with like maybe something that's small to you. I wouldn't say to paper trade because I feel like paper trading is only good if you're like trying to get familiar with a new broker or you're testing a brand new strategy, or if you're like feeling boredom and you want to trade. I feel like you want to have a little bit of money on the line so that you have like that sort of emotional attachment, because the thing about trading, it reveals who you are. Like it revealed things about me that I didn't even know. Like I felt emotions I've never felt before while in a trade. I've gone from euphoria to depression. I felt greed. I felt panic. Um, so it's good to like go through that cycle, go through the emotions, because um, once you can like see the candles mean the same thing, whether it's now or 5 years down the line. Volume means the same thing now and 5 years down the line. Whatever indicators you use, that it means the same thing. But the difficult part is what goes on between the ears. It's your mind, that inside voice that you're fighting and you're battling day in, day out. The thing that screws with your conviction, that's the thing that you need to defeat. Like they say, trading is you versus you at the end of the day. And I feel like that's very important.
And there's no, people always say that the only way to get good at trading is like studying and screen time. But there is also some part of yourself that I think needs to be worn down. And I think the only way to do that is, like you said, your own money is on the line. And as Mark Douglas very famously says, you have to learn how to be okay with losing. And that I only comes with time and losing and dealing with that.
Exactly
Definitely.
that. Traders are professional losers. What we do is risk management for a life. We take probable setups. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But as long as we've got our good risk reward and the setup is probable, then over a series of trades, we're gonna see our profits.
I see a lot of traders will see the exact same setup as their neighbor trader, but their neighbor trader is taking a position thinking, heck, this is going to go. Like, this is a good setup. I'm ready to take it. Let's go. Without immediately thinking that, right when they turn red for a split second, they panic out. Now, where their buddy trader sees the setup and they're just so scared of losing that they won't even take the trade, or they'll stop out immediately because they just can't handle the mindset of being red, where the other trader knows and has that conviction, and more times than not, that play and that setup's going to go, and then they're the ones that end up being in the money.
I've actually been talking to a trader. His name's Real Simple Ariel. Not sure if you guys are
I'm
familiar or not.
familiar.
Yeah, he is a badass. And he was talking to me. He has a rule of when to sell, which actually like blew my mind, because my rule for selling is just like sell into strength, scale out on the way up, leave a little bit in case it wants to run. But I don't have an if when sell rule. And now I do, thanks to him. Do you have one?
I do. Well, it's something similar to that, because the way that I trade is I like to look at the key levels, so pre-market high, pre-market low, and the daily levels. So I really like to think in conditional statements. So if price breaks this level, then it has range to the level above it. Or if price rejects this level, it's going to go back down and retest the bottom of the range. So I like to trade clean charts. So like I want to see the support and resistance areas pretty clearly. And I think that stocks will trade in a range until it decides to break out or break down. So I like to see how price reacts to that and then sell my position if it's weakness, or perhaps move my stops up to the next level if it shows that it is strong and going to continue.
Berkey, do you have a sell rule?
Yeah, I'm always scaling in and out. So I don't necessarily trade around a core necessarily, but essentially that's what I'm doing if I'm scaling in and out at areas that I think are good buys or sells. But I definitely scale in front of areas where I think there's going to be resistance or a possible rejection. Just to, if you take a trade at $11 and you sell half at 11.50, your new break even point's technically 10.50. If it knifes down $1 and you're stuck there without a stop or any, proper, risk in place. So I think it's always good that you're identifying like where you'd be selling ahead of time and what the scenario would be if you're scaling in or just holding more shares for the further move, of course.
You know what? I came up with another question based on that. So Ripster, I talk about that. This is my most quoted quote on the podcast. Ripster talks a lot about taking a size in a trade where you feel comfortable letting that trade breathe. And I instituted that for a long time of like, I don't want to get stopped out. If I take a position, I want to like have conviction and watch if it works out. And recently, I've been doing a lot more like take a position, have a really tight stop loss, and then if you get stopped out, you can re-enter if you want to. And I think both are fairly valid ways to do it. You just have to make a commitment. And I think that I was relying a little bit too much on Ripsters, like let the trade breathe, and then it'd get into a not selling or averaging down situation. I didn't have as good of a risk management. I know we've talked about your risk management, but does any of that I just said make you want to say anything?
Yeah, I feel like different people have different styles, and to be honest, I feel like your style and your niche depends on your personality. So me, I don't like to be red on my trades too often. I like to be green as soon as I take the trade. So that's why I like to play around near the key levels. So I'll take my position, and I like to have a tight stop. So even if I do lose, I'm not losing that much. I'm not risking a lot, but the reward is significantly higher. So I can make big gains relative to my account with minimal downside. So that's just the way that I personally like to trade. But it really depends on like what type of trader you are. Like others, they can't trade like that. It just doesn't suit their personality. So it depends on who you are as a person.
You know who trades like that is Esk Trading. She came on the podcast and she said she will enter a trade right where she would cut it and put her stop right below. So she's basically like taking no losses. And if she's not green immediately, then she'll just cut it, which I thought was brilliant and wasn't something I was doing at the time. She's incredible. She just passed $1 million.
Yeah, she's a beast. Like I have
Totally.
total respect for her.
Yeah, such a badass. She's going to come back for a second time to recap her $1 million journey. So I can't wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, Making Sales, is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask you?
I just wanted to add to the Esk's style of trading. So I like to think of risk reward as like imagine there's a line of emotions, and right at the end you're like angry and depressed and all the bad emotions, and on the other side you're happy, you're calm, and all the good emotions. So when you're adding closer to your risk, I like to think that you're at a state of peace and calmness because the downside is so minimal. But when you're chasing closer to the reward side and the downside is much more significant, then I like to think that you're going to be angry and stressed and all the bad emotions. So that's how I like to think about it. What would my mood be if I take an entry at this position?
God, that's brilliant. Yeah. I am my current thing. So trading for me is sort of like being in a rock tumbler. Like I go in and I have all of these like bad edges, and then sort of piece by piece, I'm trying to smooth out each edge. And the thing I'm like really focused on right now is not chasing things. I'm pretty bad about chasing things. And I do think that I could use in my mind, like I shouldn't chase this because I will immediately be pretty anxious. So thanks for saying that. That's a huge takeaway for me.
I can add
I'm
something
a
to the
fullback.
chasing thing.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, Berkey. So I've never had a problem when it comes to chasing and whatnot, because I'd like kind of like develop an abundance mindset. So I think the market's going to be here forever. The market's here tomorrow, it's here next month, next year, 10 years from now. So just think about all the opportunities just from this year where you could have like took a risk and made a profit. There were so many opportunities out there. So I never stress if I feel like I'm missing a play. And if I really do feel FOMO, I'll just buy one share. Like the stock can go to zero, I couldn't care because it's only one share I'm risking on the line. And I feel like that's a good cure for FOMO. There's always the next one that you can focus on.
Definitely.
Would you ever write a book? Like, this is just like gold coming out of your mouth. I am taking notes as we're doing the episode. Somebody needs to bottle this.
Fun fact, I've actually written a book before while I was in college. But it's not about trading or anything, just like it's a different type of book. I just talked about accountability and mindset and whatnot. Nothing new, but so that's why
Where
I'm
does
such a
one
passion
find
for
this
writing.
book?
If you search my real name that you have, then you could probably find it somewhere.
That's incredible.
So, are we talking to the next Mark Douglas? Like,
I feel like right now I'm too inexperienced to like write a book or anything like that. I have to have like some experience in the market. I've only done this for almost 2 years now. I think I need at least 10 years before I can even think about writing a book, because I don't want to be giving out advice when I don't think I'm qualified enough.
We're gonna see this guy touring the world someday, giving out financial speeches in college campuses and auditoriums. And
can I right now get you on air to commit that if you go on tour, can I be the moderator?
Of course.
Speaking of abundance mindset, I had never admitted this to anyone in MTA or anything because I thought that people would think it was like voodoo-y. But before, like in pre-market every day, before I take a trade, I have this notebook and I write over and over and over that I'm a profitable trader. That's like what I want to be. And I'm really trying to like convince myself of that. It's been very helpful.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to reinforce those like positive beliefs and stuff like that. Like I'm not really into the, just like holding and hoping and just like blind manifestation. But if you back the manifestation up with like actions and hard work, then like I believe, then it can combine really well.
I think the biggest thing I see, even my friends struggling with is like, you see all these posts online and stuff, people making a ton of money, 10,000, 50,000 a day, these crazy things. And, when they're only not to say only, when they're making like $100 or $20 a day, that's still profitable. So I just love that saying, saying I am profitable. It doesn't matter if it's a couple bucks, you beat the market that day. They add up time and time again. If you take your smaller wins and you're just consistently, I am profitable. It's gonna go far.
Well, it certainly has helped. Instead of going into the market every day of, I hope I don't lose, or I'm not very good at this, or all the other sort of shit that I would say to myself, just trying to take a minute to be like, I can do this. And that might not, I'm tweaking the phrase. I might tweak it into something else, but Making Sales, thank you. And I keep asking, and then I keep interrupting you with my own questions, which is what I do on the podcast. I use it as my own tutoring session. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
I'll say that if you're a new trader, create a plan and stop blindly following others. Once you have a plan, then like you can eliminate a lot of your big losses, because you're going to lose regardless, like along the journey, but you want to have the losses to be small instead of having a catastrophic loss that wipes you out. The aim of the game is to just survive another day, and then hopefully after you preserve capital, you turn a profit.
I love it. What a great note to end on. Making Sales, thank you so much for your time and wisdom. And thank you for coming on the podcast. And I very much hope that you'll come back one day.
Thank you for having me.
Berkey freaking nailed it. Way to co-host.
Thank you. I love speaking with both of you.
Well, you might have a permanent job coming your way for when I need a fill-in. You did great. Making Sales, you did great. You're so articulate. I'm so jealous.
I appreciate it.
Truly impressive.
Incredible.
I wish I could speak like him.
Well, you guys enjoy your weekend, and I will see you tomorrow morning in MTA.
See you on Voice in the Morning. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, Making Sales.
See everyone tomorrow.
You.
It's a blast. A doodle.
Isn't he so cute?
He is.
He's quite cute.